All right, guys. So, as of recording this, we are 24 hours away from what I genuinely think is going to be the album of the year for 2026, The Fall Off from J. Cole. He dropped the track list today, and in this video, we're not just going over the titles, we're breaking down the visuals too. And I actually managed to track down a lot of the posters in his room and what they represent for Cole. But before we get into any of that, we got to talk about how amazing this rollout has been. On January 14th, out of nowhere, Cole dropped the trailer.
Because somebody else has to take that spot.
And we've been documenting this whole thing on this channel. The trailer alone was enough to set the timeline on fire because it finally gave us a concrete release date, February 6th. But Cole wasn't done because before people even had time to process it, within the next hour, he dropped the Disc 2 Track 2 video.
My life, I see it in reverse. I first appeared in a hurt.
And for how he did this, he got a lot of praise. With that record, we got a real glimpse of where Cole was headed. This wasn't some typical industry single, and it definitely wasn't made for the radio. It felt like Cole only cared about challenging himself, and he was clearly flexing the pen in a way that made everybody pay attention. On that track, he's basically rhyming his life in reverse, bar for bar, while staying locked into the same 4-syllable piece up the whole time. Pretty much across the board in hip-hop is kind of unanimous that the dude is rapping his ass off. Dreamville really executed this rollout perfectly because on the exact same day that they dropped the trailer and the music video, they also announced special limited vinyls for the Fall Off, and that's when we got our first real look at the cover, a cover that in my opinion will likely go down in the history books. In my entire life as a music fanatic, I've never been more sure of an artist or a project like I am for the Fall Off. With that, the fans already had a lot to chew onto, and for the first time in 2 years, the timeline started to look normal. All of a sudden, our home feeds were filled with conversations around J. Cole, fans were going crazy, lots of barbershop talk on the timeline with different creators, and as toxic as we've seen things get since the battle happened, it felt like we were finally seeing some healthy hip-hop conversations. This moment really helped me too, like mentally, creatively. It helped pull me back into like a healthy space that I hadn't been in for a while. And Dreamville kept their foot on the gas. Just 2 days after the announcement, they started giving fans the type of things that they love to see, like some behind the scenes footage of how the music video was created. The video is amazing, so it was really dope to see the green screen footage and like how they did it. However, it was on January 19th where we got the update that really drove fans insane, and that was when Ibrahim showed some vinyls fresh off the press, but it wasn't just one, there were 4. People went nuts because we don't get double albums that often, much less from an artist like Cole. And again, I felt like this did great things for the timeline. People were starting to come up with theories for side A and side B, including myself. And then the very next day, Dreamville dropped an interview snippet where Cole went into detail on his creative process for the record.
I persevered through the worst. My thirst to adhere is a curse. My life, I see it in reverse. Yo, what if you could do this whole rhyme about your life story in reverse? You got to keep 4 syllables minimum.
I don't know when they're planning to drop that interview, but, I guess the rollout doesn't stop when the album drops. I mean, they could drop it for promo. On January 23rd, we started seeing billboards for the Fall Off all over Fayetteville, with one fan reporting that he saw at least 50 big-ass billboards around the city. I think you guys know how much Cole means to that city, but at the same time, that city means a lot to him and the people in it. The next thing that Dreamville did is honestly one of the dopest moves I've ever seen a label make, because if you're a die-hard Cole fan on the internet, the last couple years haven't exactly been smooth. Cole fans have been in this weird spot where you're watching all these narratives get pushed, but the real fans stayed loyal, and Dreamville clearly noticed. They handpicked a bunch of people who'd consistently held Cole down, and they sent them a 1 of 226 Fall Off hoodie. And it wasn't just large creators, it was everybody from big YouTubers to smaller creators, dedicated Twitter accounts, They pretty much showed love to their most loyal supporters. And I want to give a huge special shout out to one creator specifically, and that's my guy Caleb. He's literally dedicated his YouTube channel to holding down J. Cole, making positive content, shutting down rumors. I was really glad to see that he got a hoodie because he definitely deserved it.
Only 226 hoodies were sent out. So for me to be a recipient of one of those 226, I mean, it's special.
Let's get him some more subscribers. I'm going to pin his channel in the comment section. At this point, the fans were hungry for some music, and a lot of fans anticipated that Cole would drop something before the album came out, and they were exactly right because on January 27th, we got the Birthday Blizzard 26 tape.
If hip-hop is back, JID should chart platinum. Anything less than that, it means y'all capping.
I made a video on this too, so definitely go check it out. As much as people hated on Cole for the apology, and some will always bring that up, the one thing you heard across the board was that Cole was rapping his ass off, with many saying that they don't think there's anyone in the game that's better. For at least 5 years now. Easily, I've been saying the same thing. And the rollout only kept going. This time on January 29th, they revealed one of the covers for the Fall Off and also gave fans the option to pre-order it on CD. However, what made this announcement really important is that Cole actually took the time to explain the meaning behind both album covers, and on top of that, he also mentioned he'd be doing an Ask Me Anything on the Inevitable website. This was all inspired by an old website called Cannabis Central, a site that J. Cole used where he went by the username Blaza, where he spent time on the site typing out verses and even posting his own music for feedback. What Cole is doing is he's going back in time to look at what made him excited as a fan, right? And that's what he's giving you. Because there's a whole generation of younger fans who never experienced these forum sites. They never got to experience what it feels like when the internet was actually built around music. So I think it's really dope they'll get a taste of that, and I can imagine Cole's website will be pretty drama-free. And for anyone who did grow up in that era, it's just really nostalgic. And that brings us to the track list. So right away, we can see that the album is being executive produced by Cole, Ibrahim, and T-Minus. Now, T-Minus shouldn't need an introduction. His discography speaks for itself. He's worked very closely with Cole for years. They're really close friends. In fact, I believe Cole even stood at his wedding. There's very few producers that could fuck with T-Minus's discography. I would like to see him do a versus. We also see that the album is under Dreamville and Interscope, and I haven't seen many people talk about this, but this is Cole's first album outside of Jay-Z. This is really interesting because outside of his early mixtapes and Might Delete Later, this is Dreamville's first official album away from that deal. I think it's worth mentioning that all of his albums were with Jay-Z except for this one. With the track list, we see an image of what was described by Cole as his teenage bedroom, and for anyone who grew up in this era, your room probably looked just like this. For me, it was a combination of skateboarding and hip-hop, and it was wall to wall. I didn't even have any space in between. It was just like nothing but magazines. I had so many that I had to put them on the ceiling. This is what we did. We would get magazines, cut out the pages, and tape them on our wall. Just like Cole's front cover, he's really taken us back to that moment in time. If you're wondering what this rectangular object is, it's not a mini fridge. That's a CD player from the late 90s. I couldn't find this exact model, but it looks like it probably took up to 5 CDs. And sometimes these came with speakers on each side where we would move them around to different places in our rooms. You could tell which kids grew up with money just by seeing like the CD player that they own. Before we get into the titles, I put an insane amount of work into identifying as many magazine cutouts as I could because I do think this is important. As a teenager myself, I wasn't that particular over the images that made it onto my wall, but Cole was. Just looking through some of these old Source magazines as I was doing this research, I know a younger version of me would have cut a lot of these pages out, but it seems only specific MCs made it on Cole's wall. Every poster on that wall is from the year 2000, so I'm not sure if he would like swap them out each year and put new ones up. I don't know. For me, I was a fan of the music, but I wasn't a rapper, so I didn't look at these cutouts in the same way that Cole did. I didn't have that same personal connection, so it makes perfect sense why Cole surrounded himself with legends that he actually looked up to as a source of inspiration. First, we got Beans. All right, so in the top left, you can all see it. This was an ad in the source for Beanie Siegel's debut album, The Truth.
Y'all cats told Mac to rap.
This album is a really important piece because for this one, we got the Jay-Z connection through Rockefeller Records, but also this album is known by many as the first introduction to Kanye West as a producer. And Just Blaze was another producer that got introduced pretty much from that album. Beans was one of those artists where when he came in, you could just tell that he was really the real deal. And on the Come Up mixtape, Cole actually taps into this exact energy as he uses Beanie Siegel's Mom Praying for Dollar and a Dream.
My favorite, her pot of rice and her stewed chicken.
I thank the Lord he let a nigga make it this far.
The second photo on the top right is a promotion for Rough Riders MC Drag On and for his album Opposite of H2O. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not overly familiar with this project. I can recognize 3, maybe 4 tracks on here, one of them being with DMX.
My niggas is the niggas that'll ride with me. Flames make me blow 'em on my hands like dust.
And of course, because it's Rough Riders, Swizz Beatz is all over this project. And Cole executive produced Swizz's Poison album. Swizz even said that J. Cole played the role of a younger mentor for him. You could pretty much find a connection in his career somewhere that aligns with the images and the people on his wall. The next cutout shouldn't need an introduction as we have an advertisement for 50 Cent's Power of the Dollar.
Let my tombstone read, I tried, and from the start, everything I wrote was from my heart.
Cole sampled 50 many times, like on Friday Night Lights.
Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie.
And he eventually got the 50 hook on Born Sinner.
You can win anywhere if you can win here.
I'm personally someone who believes in the law of attraction, so I think it's really dope to see that Cole has worked with a lot of the people who were on this wall when he was 15. In 2023, 50 even brought Cole out as a surprise guest in Brooklyn, and Cole even said that Get Rich or Die Trying is the best album of all time.
First things first, Get Rich or Die Trying, the best album of all time. I don't give a fuck what you talking about.
This could be just a random fact, but Get Rich or Die Trying also dropped on February 6th. An artist who occupies a lot of real estate on Cole's wall was Common, and I'm honestly not that surprised. I could see more similarities in J. Cole and Common than any other rapper. It's interesting to see the similarities in Common's Can I Borrow a Dollar and J. Cole's Dollar and a Dream. Common is also someone with deep Chicago ties to both Ye and No ID, and No ID ended up being Cole's biggest mentor when he moved to New York. There are 6 cutouts of Common on this wall, and it's from the same magazine, which was the source number 127. This was all from a huge write-up on Common's album Like Water for Chocolate, and Cole clearly liked this project a lot. In an interview, Common said that the album title was based on a movie of the same name where the main character is a cook. She would always be cooking for people, and whatever she made, she would really put a lot of emotion into it. So when people would eat her cooking, they were able to feel that same emotions that she felt while cooking it. Common said he put all of his heart, mind, and rawness into this album, and he was hoping that people would feel that when they listened to the project. You could pretty much swap those words out and say that J. Cole said that, and I would believe you because it sounds exactly like something he would say. We also saw J. Cole completely destroy Common's classic B instrumental in a 2011 freestyle.
Now I'm on this train with a meal to my name.
As far as production, Jay Dilla's work is all over this project, and on many occasions, Cole cited him as a significant influence on his career. You got to keep in mind that Cole is also a producer, so if you see that image of a rapper on his wall, it could go beyond the artist and into the music, the sound, and the producers behind it. Speaking of Dilla and Common, J. Cole has dropped one last snippet before the fall off as I was making this video, and he's featuring a sample of The Light which is on the Like Water for Chocolate album.
I never knew a la like this.
I never knew a la like this.
So remember, he had 7 of these cutouts of that exact album on his wall when he was 15, and he's taking us back. The next image I'm going to show you guys is not a group that many will recognize outside of Fayetteville, and this is the group Bomb Shelter. A user on Reddit was able to figure out who this was, and after some searching, I was able to find the exact image. This is from the year 2000 and is one of the most important pieces on Cole's wall. Bomb Shelter even gave J. Cole his first rap name at age 14 when he went by The Therapist.
Bomb Shelter? He named you The Therapist?
Yeah, it was a duo.
Cole said many times that Bomb Shelter is the only reason that he's here. Cole kept that rap name for 4 or 5 years, and much later, he even called his Dreamville studio The Shelter.
Your studio? Is it called The Shelter?
Yeah, The Shelter, which actually we just closed it down.
And the first time Cole ever stepped onto a stage was at a Bomb Shelter show when they asked people from the crowd if they wanted to try to get up there to rap.
Yo, all the MCs that's in the crowd, if you want to get up and rock, come up. I'm 14. But as soon as they passed me the microphone, I destroyed that shit. I was the best on the stage.
And Bomb Shelter was really happy to be on the cover of Cole's album, as they wrote this in a caption. Love to my bro Cole for always finding ways to show respect after all these years. So he was 14 at this time, which is perfectly in line with the time that he had them up on his wall. The next image that we have is of RZA from the Wu-Tang, who's not just an MC, but obviously a producer too. But what I'm about to show you is something you've probably never heard. Back during the Cannabis Central forum days, Cole actually got into an online battle with another rapper from the forum by the name of Ravenous. Ravenous fired on Cole first with a track called The Youngin', and Cole was quick to respond with his own song called The Elderly, where he went in over the Triumph beat produced by RZA.
You jock me and talk shit cause you not me, I'm cocky. This faggot's riding my dick, a jockey. Try me, nigga.
This is worth a whole other breakdown, to be honest, because if you really listen to that diss track from Cole, you can kind of see what he would be like in a battle. The Triumph track actually represents a lot because it's Wu-Tang's highest peaking single on the Billboard Top 100, a song with no hook, multiple MCs, and RZA said himself, "We did the impossible. We got a 6-minute song on the radio. It was unheard of." And when you think about J. Cole, he loves shit like this, right? No hooks, just all rapping, just a bunch of... He loves this shit. The next image that we have is of Exhibit and is from a special West Coast edition of The Source. I could only find this image in one place on the internet, so I have no idea what year this was from, but something really crazy that I noticed is if you look really closely at the cover, it says Exhibit, A Star Was Born.
And could I be a star? Does fame in this game have to change who you are?
Like I said, man, I believe in this shit. Like, I think it's fucking crazy that he had an image on his wall that said A Star Is Born. And that was the record that changed his life. Like 20 years later, like the room is working for him, you know? On the top right, we got something really dope, and this is an animated cartoon from Andre Davis. You can probably recognize this style because he had a lot of these animations in the Source magazines. I'm not sure which edition this one came from, but you can see it's a RZA Wu-Tang inspired cartoon based off Marvel's Tales of Suspense series. Comic characters influenced graffiti, so Andre brought it back full circle by turning hip-hop artists into comics and superheroes. So again, more RZA, but I think he just put this up on the wall because of, like, it just looks cool. The next poster on the wall is an ad for Cannabis 2000 BC album, and we've already discussed how much of an impact Cannabis had on Cole, and if you listen to his very early work, he basically sounds like Cannabis with a different voice.
You cats is fly, but your plane's crashing. You came and passed, my range lasting. I came slashing, same fashion that OJ stabbed him.
Ironically enough, Cannabis dissed J. Cole on a song in 2011 and apologized for it.
Thousands and thousands of comments about this J. Cole track, and all of the negativity is stirring up. And after 48 hours of it, I feel confident enough to say that it's unanimous. Hip-hop has spoken up. It's a cold world right now, and you're the reigning champ, Jay. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I apologize for stepping over the line. It comes off as tacky and unsophisticated, and it's just not G. I made this video in an effort to turn it around and man up for my mistake.
A lot of people seem to peg Cole as the first rapper to apologize for a diss track, but I think we can all admit that him having one of his favorite rappers of all time, a man he once had on his wall as a teenager, apologize, and not just to anyone but to him, that's really telling. Look, I guarantee when Cole did his apology, he thought about this cannabis shit. I'm almost sure of it. On the very far right of the room, we have an album advertisement for the Lox' album, We Are the Streets. The Lox definitely meant a lot to Cole, and even more recently on the 99 Build Freestyle, we see a sample of Money, Power, Respect.
The flow can make the rigor mortis on a mortal reverse.
And Kiss was the one that told us this was coming.
He rhymed over money, power, respect, and he rhymed over cannot live. Killed them shit.
And that's not like a random leak, right? Like Cole's team wanted this to come from Kiss. And speaking of the Lox, this is a perfect segue into the poster right beneath it, which was an ad for the Rough Riders Volume 2 album, which had one of the hardest intros. I had a Rough Riders pendant for a chain when I was 14, and I wore it. Like, you know, I rocked the shit out of it. Like, it's cringe, but it was the times. Next, we got LL Cool J, and this one took a while for me to find. It was a magazine advertisement for his single For You and Me from the GOAT album.
He said my ex be beating on me. He mad jealous even though he be cheating on me.
With this record, we got LL telling a love story, and while Cole never said this himself, I know records like this directly influenced his first song that he ever recorded, which was called The Storm.
Her name was Nina. See, he was all about the cash flow till she came and had this man pussy whipped to the max, yo.
Now, with that record, we see a lot of Nas as well, but I think a lot of these records contributed to his writing style. Next on the wall, we've got Eminem, and this was an ad in the Source magazine for the Marshall Mathers LP.
Since birth, I've been cursed with this curse to just curse.
This album was obviously massive, and Cole often cites Eminem as a major influence. These are the types of pockets and cadences that Cole studied as a teenager, and there's plenty of evidence of this in his earlier work.
Fuck a gun or a knife, my knuckles is right. Enough of this hype.
I'm wondering if he samples Eminem on the Fall Off, because that's one artist that he's not worked with and he hasn't sampled him. The next image we have is of Ghostface Killah, and it's actually a 5 mics review of his album Supreme Clientele. The album received 4.5 mics at the time, and it seems like Cole was inspired by it. In fact, on the Come Up mixtape, Cole went in on Mighty Crazy from this exact album.
Inhale, break beats of hell, and your life propel.
Your rabbit ass mind, a savage over this cabbage.
So like I said, with the cutouts that he picked, unlike myself, who just put random shit on my wall, he was really specific about what he put up there. The red Target-looking image was from a benefit album put together by Black Star to speak out against police brutality after 4 New York police officers shot an unarmed man 41 times. For that reason, the album has 41 different MCs featured on it, and Cole isn't someone who's shied away from speaking on social or political issues. In fact, he's even joined protests for this exact same cause. From a young age, it seems like he knew he wanted to use his voice for things like this, and maybe he put that poster up for inspiration. And that's pretty much it for the magazine cutouts that I could find. If you see some that I missed, please leave it in the comments. Because this took way longer than expected and the album is about to drop in a few hours, unfortunately I can't get into my thoughts on the track list. I had a lot of great takes for it, but I need to get this video out. Look, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the fastest at getting these videos out, right? I'm very slow compared to others, but I feel like if you like attention to detail, I think it's worth the wait.